Hello, this is Spartan Commander, and this is the 306th Rome Total War Brotherhood game that I've put onto YouTube. Just to say, this battle has been supplied by Brotherhood member Crypto, and I think is an exciting and interesting battle for you to watch, and I hope you enjoy it. Okay, the first teammate is Brotherhood member JGP, who has bought the Rome SBQR faction. And if you notice there, he's got the bog standard 31k army, which is 14 infantry and 6 cavalry. Remember, this is the absolutely standard 31k army. It's very effective and very efficient. So new players to Rome Total War, I'd say that's a pretty good army. Their next teammate is Brotherhood member Legion 22, who has bought his faction of choice, which is Macedon. Legion's got very good with Macedon in the last few months, and as I say, I believe it is his faction of choice. I think he's got something like 10 pike units there. Let's have a look at the upgrades for newer players to Rome Total War. As you can see here, he's got 7 upgrades, so that's an experienced striped gold shield, gold attack. And once again, we'll have a look at the length of the pikes. Remember those big 120-man units with those long pikes, and Roman soldiers have to fight their way down those pikes to kill the man on the other end. That's why Roman generals are not too keen on attacking pike units head-on, because their troops have to fight down those long pikes. I see Legion's got 5 Cretan archers, so a quick look at the upgrades. Okay, so he's got 6 upgrades. That's gold shield, gold attack on those Cretan archers, so that makes those elite archers even better with those type of upgrades. Let's have a look at his cavalry. As you can see here, he's got his companion cavalry with 8 upgrades. So that's 2 experienced stripes, gold shield, gold attack. And these companion cavalry are also known as the winged horsemen because of the kind of wings on the side of their helmets. So there's Legion's army there. I think he's got 3 cavalry units. I think it's about 10 pike units and 5 Cretan archers. Now we move to the host of this battle. Brotherhood member Crypto, who is starting to bring some experimental Seleucid armies, and this is one of those armies there. I think he's got about 10 pike units there. Let's have a look at the upgrades. If you can see, you've got 7 upgrades, so that's an experienced stripe, gold shield, gold attack. Of course, Seleucid have only got short-range archers, so sometimes people put good upgrades on those archers. As you can see here, he's got 6 upgrades, so he's got gold shield, gold attack on those archers, because they can prove very useful at trying to hold off enemy archers that are attacking the big units. And then we've got a chariot unit here. Now, if you notice there, it's got gold shield, gold attack. If we have a closer look, can you see the scythes on the wheels there? And they've even got spikes or scythes on the horses as well here, so they do a lot of damage, but these units do run amok. And as we've seen in other battle videos, when they run amok, they're a menace to both friend and foe alike. In fact, I think they do more damage when they're in the run amok mode than they are in the normal mode. So it'll be interesting to see if bringing that unit was a risk too far, or whether it was a good move. Also, I see he's got his cataphract cavalry. If you notice, he's got 8 upgrades on there. So that's 2 experienced stripes, gold shield, gold attack. Remember, these are what we call the tanks of the ancient world, because they're armoured from head to toe. And used correctly, they can be battle-winning troops. So there's Crypto's experimental Seleucid army. Looks pretty good to me. He's got 5 cataphracts and that 1 heavy chariot unit. I think it's 10 pikes, and I think he's got, what, about 5 archers there. Looks like a pretty good team to me. Okay, newer players to Rome Total War that might be thinking about taking Macedon. I just thought I'd show you Legion's formation here. Can you see he's got his 2 pillar shield units in front of his main battle line there. And if you notice, I think they're phalanx units, those 2 ones at the front there. Cheap pike units. He's got his main royal pikemen in the main formation there, but the 2 units at the front are, I believe, phalanx. Phalanx Legion pikemen there. And they're the cheaper ones, but that's all you want. He's only got 3 upgrades on. My guess is that's gold defense on both of those units there, because what they're there for, they're just there to soak up enemy pilers. They're just kind of like cannon fodder, if you like, to kind of, as I say, soak up enemy missiles, so that they don't damage your main battle line. So as long as those units stand, they'll take, they're 120-man units, they'll take a lot of pilers and arrows, and his main elite pikeman, the royal pikeman there, will be able to still be intact. So that's a pretty good Macedon formation there. They say he's got his 3 cavalry at the back. He's got his archers behind his main infantry there for protection. So as I say, new players to Rome Total War. I like showing you a few hints and tips of what veterans can do. And here is the other team. We have Brotherhood member Uther, who has bought the Rome Julio faction. And if you've noticed here, Uther's bought the old school Roman Cav General here, Armoured Cav General. Now, as I say, up to about 7 or 8 years ago, we always used to bring these as our cavalry, as our generals, before we switched to infantry. If you notice, I noticed there he's got 9 upgrades. So this unit is fully upgraded. Remember, it's got excellent specifications and morale anyway. And if you fully upgrade it, that makes this super elite unit even better. And if you remember, Kings Marcus, Brotherhood member Conan and Uther use these old school generals extremely well. They can be a good harassing and haranguing tool, as I say, to disrupt the enemy battle line and hit soft targets. We'll have to see how well he used it in this particular battle. And if you notice here, I think he's got 11 infantry units there. 11, yeah. And if you notice there, for morale, he's got an Eagle unit, and if you look at the other units around the Eagle unit, you say there's the Eagle unit there. Can you see they're saying happy to be near command unit, happy to be near command unit. So that general, that Eagle unit there is giving them the morale bonus there for for when they get into a battle. And then he's got 5 Praetorian cavalry. Let's have a look at the upgrades. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So he's got 2 experienced stripes, gold shield, gold attack on his Praetorian cavalry. Once again, that makes these cavalry super elite with those type of upgrades on. So that's a pretty good tried and tested old army of Uthers there. Be interesting to see how that cavalry general is used during the course of the battle. Right, now I'm going to just pass this army here. We're going to move past this army here and move on to the other one, because I'm going to look at that army a little bit more in detail. Okay, and there are other team member is a RTW player called Manor. Now, Crypto thinks that he's a well-known RTW player because this guy plays really well, but he already said anything through the battle, and we still don't really know who he is. He's called himself Manor in this battle, but we do suspect that he is probably a well-known RTW player who has just changed his name for this battle. If you notice there, he's got 14 infantry. And his general's got 8 upgrades on. So he's got 2 experienced stripe, gold shield, gold attack on there. And he's got 6 cavalry. So he's got the 14 infantry, 6 cavalry there. And if you look at his cavalry, I believe they've only got 6 upgrades on. So it's gold shield, gold attack. But as I say, we suspect that this Manor guy is a well-known player. Okay, now we're going to move on to this particular army, COH Inquisitor's army, in fact, and he's bought the Rome Julio faction. Now, I wanted to show you this army last because it's a kind of a specialist custom army there, where he's got 8 archers. Now, what incredible amount of archers to bring to the battlefield, and he's put gold shield, gold attack on each one of those units. So it's 8 archers and only 6 infantry. And if you look at the upgrades on the infantry, they're only gold shield, gold attack. They're not even even got great upgrades on. So that's 8 archers, 6 infantry, and then he's got his cavalry here that have got 8 upgrades on as well. So he's got 6 cavalry with 2 experienced stripes, gold shield, gold attack on them. Now, can new players to this to RTW, can you see why this custom specialised army has been built by COH Inquisitor? Can you think why he's bought an army like this? 7 archers, only 6 infantry, and 6 well upgraded cavalry. Well, because he's facing Macedon and Seleucid. Now remember, both Macedon and Seleucid have got those big 120-man units. They're extremely susceptible to missile damage. So that's why he's got 8 archers here, because he's looking to inflict as many casualties as he can on those big units before they actually get into combat. And that's why I think he's only got 6 infantry, because I think his thinking is that he's going to cause so many casualties with the enemy's big 120-man units that maybe his 6 infantry unit will be enough to take on what's left of those units after they've been decimated by that many archers. So that's why I think he's bought this custom specialised army. As I say, he's got his those 8 upgrades on each one of his cavalry there to take on the Cataphract cavalry and the companion cavalry there. So as I say, he's built this army as a customised specialist army for this particular battle, and I guess only time will tell whether that army will do what he wants it to on the battlefield. This has got the ingredients to be a great one. Okay, at this very early stage of the battle here, you can see that JGP is moving up towards his allies, but can you see that Uther is moving his cavalry general forward? But if you notice here, can you see that it looks like JGP has forgotten a unit here, and he's trying to run him to catch up to that unit. And I'm just wondering whether Uther's general here is looking to try and smash into that unit to try and do some damage. I notice he's bringing his cavalry, his Praetorian cavalry down as well here, and I'm just wondering whether he's going to try and intercept that unit before it can get over to the main body of JGP's army there. Wisely, if you notice that JGP's heading that unit backwards rather than across, because you can probably see Uther's general coming in there. I'm just thinking to myself, JGP's got his cavalry there anyway, so I think even if that Julii cavalry got over to threaten that unit, he'd probably bring his cavalry over to cover that unit there. You know, sometimes when you set up, you can leave a unit out, you can forget a unit, and just press OK and that, and all of a sudden you see that unit's over there on its own, so he's trying to pull it across there. Let's say here's a general overview of JGP, Legion and Crypto there. They formed up together, probably ready to receive an attack from the enemy. Let's say with all those archers that Inquisitor has bought, he probably wants to get quite close to get those archers. And if you notice that Crypto's got that chariot unit right out to the right flank there, probably with a view to smash into those archers if he gets a chance. Should be an interesting one to watch. Okay, newer players to Rome Total War. I thought I'd show you this. Now if you notice, can you see that Uther's put his Roman armoured general right there and just stood there showing his flank to the enemy team. Now this is an age-old tactic that we used to use years and years ago. Can you see why he's doing it? Can you think why he just stood there showing his flank to the enemy? Newer players to Rome Total War. Think of the upgrades on that unit, fully upgraded, plus the specifications are already really high. And he's just stood there. Let's say you can see he's fully upgraded there. Why do you think that Uther's just parked that unit there? Okay, well what he's hoping is that Legion will start shooting at him with those Cretan archers. Now Uther knows that no matter what arrows hit him, it's going to cause him no casualties at all. And he's hoping here that Legion's going to fire all his Cretan archers to shoot loads of expensive arrows at this unit, which won't do any damage but waste those Cretan archers' arrows there. But if you notice that Legion is much too experienced to put his archers on auto fire and shoot at Uther's cavalry general, because he knows it just wasted arrows there. But this tactic has been very successful in the past. Uther has caused a lot of good expensive arrows to be fired at that unit, and of course depletes the expensive arrows shooting at a unit that can't be damaged by arrows. Nice tactic there by Uther. Okay, at this very early stage of the battle here, you can see that the Scipio player Manor has moved his army forward in a very aggressive manner towards Legion and JGP's armies there. Nice to see an RTW player grabbing initiative by the scruff of the neck and pulling it onto the battlefield and being aggressive. If you notice that Uther's moving up, now Uther may well take his army around the flank here and crash into the side of the Macedon and SPQ army there. If you notice here that Manor is now bringing his Scipio infantry over a little bit here, maybe even looking for a flanking action himself, or to support Uther when Uther goes round the flank, which I think Uther would probably do. As you can see, the weak part of that SPQR and Macedon formation is the flank. I think there's a lot of pilots being thrown in there to the enemy. As you can see, loads of pilots going in. But as you can see, JGP with his SPQR infantry has integrated them in with those forward Macedon pilot shield units. So let's just pause the game for a second. So as I say, there's Manor there with his Scipio army, and I'm thinking Uther is going to take his Julii infantry and cavalry around the flank here, as that's the weakest part. Well, maybe Manor could engage the forward units of the enemy team there to hold them while Uther moves round. Just like to draw your attention here. Can you see that there's one cavalry unit that you can see, JGP? Do you remember we looked at his army and he's got 6? So his other 5 units are hiding in the long grass. Can you see the darkened area on the map? That's long grass, and that's where he's got his other 5 units hidden. And it's very, very easy to forget that he's got units hiding there. And you can move your units around forgetting that those units are hiding, and all of a sudden they come out of the long grass and smash you. So, as I say, he's got 1 unit showing there. Usually you would try and hide all your units and hopefully the enemy will forget them, so you can pull them out in a kind of an ambush mode. but just to say, we'll keep an eye on that for a later stage of the battle. As you can see here, the 6 units of Inquisitors Julii army are facing Crypto's pikes there. But over here on the right flank, if you like, you can see that Crypto's not going to hang about. He's not going to let those 8 really good archers shoot into pieces. So he's going to attack. And with the infantry stood over there, he knows if he runs a pike unit forward and his archers forward here, he's got a good chance of disrupting the enemy archers there. So I'm just thinking to myself here, and he's got that chariot unit out there, which I'm sure he's ready to charge in when he feels necessary to take out those Julii archers. So as I say, you know, you don't want to hang around when you can see the enemy's got that many archers and the damage that they can do to your troops. You don't want to hang around just stand there and get shot to pieces. So this is a good aggressive display here by Crypto, showing you what you should do. He's probably got his cavalry. We're going to bring his cavalry over here as well. Now, if I was in with that pike unit, I'd carry on running forward here to scare off the archers, disrupt the battle line there. But I notice he's pulled it back. But he may be doing that for a reason, because I see he's bringing his cavalry over. Also, his Macedon ally, Legion 22's brought his winged horsemen over as well. So it looks like there could be a combination of Seleucid and Macedon cavalry hits here. Right, can you see the Seleucid tank cavalry charging into those 6 units of Julii infantry? And bang, as that cavalry goes in. And you can see some Macedon cavalry approaching as well, and they're going to hit, and bang as that cavalry hits. Right, can you see the Julii cavalry is now counter-attacking? So we've got Julii infantry and Julii good quality Julii cavalry there, and we've got the Seleucid tank cavalry and the Macedon cavalry. Just pause the game for a second. So here is a massive cavalry and infantry melee going on here, and I think maybe whoever wins here could maybe go on to win the battle, because if this flank goes, then obviously the troops then can get in behind the enemy troops there. You can see here the enemy archers still shooting arrows into Crypto's troops there, and you can see that Legion's brought some of his archers over as well to support. So they're all going to be firing in, they're going to be shooting into the red Julii troops there. It wouldn't surprise me if Crypto brought some of his pike units across there to help with this particular battle. It's part of the battle here. He could bring, or he could take his Seleucid units around the flank over there on the other side to flank the Scipii troops. Over here on the left side here, you can see, like we said, Uther looks like he's bringing his army around the flank here of JGP and Legion's army there. And maybe you can see that the Scipio generals put some units into Testudo there, obviously just to soak up some of JGP's attack. So there's a general overview of the battle as it stands at the moment. But I'm just thinking over on this other flank here, as I say, whoever wins on this flank maybe could prove pivotal to the outcome of the battle. That's a real tussle going on there. Remember, there's Julii infantry, and as you can see, all the Julii cavalry there against Macedon cavalry and those tanks of the ancient world, the cataphracts. As I said, you can see Crypto bringing those pike units across. Good move there. And as I say, you can see those Julii archers still shooting arrows into the Crypto's team there. But as I say, a good teamwork there by Legion 22, bringing his archer units over and his cavalry units. Right, here comes the chariot unit. Right, remember we looked at this chariot unit? We thought he was going to charge them into the archers as soon as he could, and that's what he's doing here. Bang as those chariots go in. Don't forget, those chariots are devastating attack specifications, but they've also got the fear factor. But now that chariot is now routing. It hasn't run amok yet, so let's hope that it doesn't. Sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. Right, can you see the Seleucid cavalry? And bang as that cavalry charges into that Julii infantry yet again. Now if you notice here, can you see Crypto's great attack here? Let's just pause the game. He's got pike units coming in from one side and from the other, and he's just charged his cavalry in as well. So those Julii infantry, remember there was only 6 units of them, look pretty beleaguered to me, and it wouldn't surprise me if they actually broke very soon. Yes, there's a lot of arrows being shot into Crypto's units there by those mass of red archers there, but it looks pretty good for Crypto over on that flank. Meanwhile, over here on the left flank here, as we said, we thought Uther would come round here on the left. But if you notice that both JGP's SBQR units and Legion 22's Mastodon units have formed a bit of a defensive formation there, from what I can see, against both Manor's Scipii infantry and Uther's Red Julii infantry. So that's a nice bit of defence there by Legion and JGP. It's pretty good. Don't forget, JGP's cavalry's bulk of it's still hiding in the long grass out there. Be interesting to see when he brings those out from hiding. Meanwhile, over here on the left flank, as I say, there's a lot of archer fire going on from both sides at the moment. Lots of fire arrows going into Crypto's tanks of the ancient world. But as you can see, most of that Julii infantry has now been taken out, and I think the Julii general has just been killed, so it's probably a matter of time till all that Julii infantry is now broken. Right, can you see here, the Seleucid and Macedon cavalry are now engaged with that Julii cavalry there. And as you can see, most of the Julii cavalry has now been routed. Let's just pause the game for a second. I just want to show you this chariot unit has now run amok. See the red banner flashing above its head? This unit is running amok, and if you notice, it's killing its allies' Cretan archers. So what we said, remember we've seen this before, units that run amok, chariots that run amok, actually kill friend and foe alike. And as I said, I believe they're more dangerous when they run amok than they are in normal mode. And that unit now will be killing its allies' archers there. So as I say, it's always a bit of a risk to bring chariots. Sometimes it pays off and they do really good, but other times they run amok and they do kill a lot of allies there. Okay, so remember, Inquisitor's army, COH Inquisitor's army, was a custom specialised built army here, meant to take on the big pike units. But as you can see here, unfortunately the gamble doesn't seem to have paid off, as his army looks basically, now that it's been taken out here. There's a couple of units still left, a couple of archer units, and I think one cavalry unit, but the vast majority of that army has now been taken out, with a nice combination from Crypto and Legion 22 there on that flank. Some really good teamwork, guys. Well played. As I say, this amok chariot unit here, it really bugs me when my allies' chariot unit starts killing my units. And I bet there's a lot of veterans sat there and nodding, agreeing with me there. You know, when your allies' chariots do start killing your own units when they run amok. But there you go. Okay, over on the other flank here, you can see that Uther's still pressurising there on the left flank, and that Scipii general is attacking as well. Now remember, keep your eye on that long grass to the right. Can you see where the SBQR, one SBQR cavalry unit is in sight? But keep an eye on that long grass, because I can see here with Uther's cavalry attacking that I think, there you go. There you go. Did you see, the moment JGP moved those cavalry units, they come into sight and you can see them. But as you can see, they were hiding in that long grass. Really nice ambush position there. Now Uther may well have forgotten that they were there. He probably knew he had 6 cavalry, but you know, when you're concentrating on other things on the battlefield, you can forget that. So that's a nice ambush tactic there, straight out the long grass to attack. Newer players to Rome Total War, hope you notice that's a really good tactic. If an ambush comes off well, it makes you feel really good, and you can see that cavalry smashing into Uther's Julii infantry there, and will cause a lot of casualties with that ambush from the long grass. Just thought that was quite an interesting thing for newer players to Rome Total War. Right, can you see Uther charging his cavalry? He's going for that SBQR general, and bang, his cavalry goes in there. As I say, he knows that if he can kill that SBQR general, that the morale of all the SBQR troops would drop, and that's probably why he sent his cavalry in there. Do you see how he charged in, got the full cavalry charge bonus? I know we've talked about that in the past. Pulled his cavalry back, they're locked and loaded, the hammer's been pulled back on the rifle, he's just ready to pull the trigger now. And if you notice that Crypto's Seleucid, victorious Seleucid pikemen now are coming across from that other flank. And if you notice there, also Legion's archers now are in close formation maybe, and are concentrating their fire arrows onto the enemy Scipii infantry there. But as you can see, Crypto's victorious pikemen are now coming across as well to help his allies. So there's a lot going on this other flank. Right, can you see JGP's cavalry is charging in there? And bang, as that cavalry hits. And if you notice, the Scipii cavalry is counter-attacking as well. in this particular part. And if you notice that Uther's charging, but can you notice there's some Scipio cavalry charging in on the other side of Uther's army there, and bang, as that cavalry hits, looking to rout some of those units. There's a nice surgical hit there by that Manor general there, bringing in 3 cavalry units from that particular angle, has routed a lot of enemy units there. Nice hit there by Manor. Right, let's pause the game for a second. As I say, coming in from that angle there, he just angled that cavalry hit right. He's routed the SBQR general as well. That was a really nice cavalry, surgical cavalry hit there with 3 units from that Scipio general. So really well done there. So Uther and Manor are doing extremely well here on this left flank against Legion 22 and JGP. It'll be interesting to see what happens there. But as I say, the Seleucid cavalry and pikemen, victorious from the other flank, are now moving over here, looking to roll up the enemy team from, looking at this side, from left to right. Remember, Legion's archers are firing loads and loads of fire arrows into the enemy team as well. Remember, not just causing casualties, but lowering morale at the same time. So there's a lot going on here at the moment. So JGP's general's just been taken out. So of course, like we said, that's going to lower the morale of his troops. And when it gets, if this battle goes down to the wire, having a general there could make the difference to your team winning or not winning here. Let's say is lots of. Can you see this red Julii cavalry unit that has rallied? Is now charged into those Macedon archers there. Right, if you note that Scipio general there pulled his cavalry back, locked and loaded, and now charging in, and bang, as that Scipio cavalry hits. If you notice though, he noticed he was coming up against pikes, so he didn't follow through with that charge. He just smashed into the forward units of the enemy there and then pulled his cavalry back. Nice move there. So Uther's here fighting with his cavalry with an SBQ or infantry. If you notice here, can you see that Crypto's charged 3 battle damage cavalry units into the rear of Uther's engaged troops. Nice hit there by Crypto. The only trouble is he's got his general there, and if he gets caught there, that general unit could get taken out. And we know the Seleucid morale is not very good. If he loses that general unit, that could be bad. Oh. Okay, so the Seleucid general has now been killed, lowering the morale of his troops. And as we said, we know Seleucid morale is not very good, so that could possibly be a turning point in this battle. If it comes down to the wire without the general, those Seleucid troops could well rout there. I see that both Uther and that Manor guy have both got their generals still alive there, and only Legion has got his general alive on the other team there. Of course, Legion's general will give morale bonus to his teammates' units as well, but it would have been better if they could have kept their units alive. Can you see here that Crypto has put units into, that Manor has put his units into Testudo there. Standard Roman infantry practice against pike attack going into Testudo. Meanwhile over here you can see that there's a rallied Julii infantry unit there charging in to those Macedon pikemen there and trying to disrupt them and kill them. Plus he's got some rallied archers there shooting into them as well. But I think this is where the battle's going to be won or lost here now, is on this particular flank. You can see Crypto's bringing some Seleucid pikemen maybe around the flank here to go into the side of the enemy units. Right, there's a lot of SBQR units have just been routed there. That's a lot of SBQR units. So remember that Uther's team is the red and the blue, and the other team are Macedon, Seleucid and purple. Okay, so one team is Macedon, Seleucid and purple, and the other team is blue and red. So you can just see what's happening at a glance at the battle here. So if you were a betting person or a betting man, where do you think your money would go on this particular battle then, looking at the situation here? Which way do you think this is going to go? Very interesting. Very, very close. but maybe having the generals at the end of the battle might make the difference. What do you think? Be interesting to see. Can you see how Uther is using that cavalry general? They're smashing into the back of units all over the battlefield, smashing, hitting them, causing them to rout, hitting soft targets with that unit as well. But here you can see Manor moving some of his Scipio units in to attack Crypto's unit. Now can you see there's a group of pike units there that are really like blobbed, if you like, and we've got Scipio infantry all around those units. Now that will lower the morale of those units, and it wouldn't surprise me if those units actually routed there through their morale being lower. Remember, their general's dead, as we said before, so their morale would be even lower here. As you can see, Uther's red Julii troops are still fighting the Macedons there. Right, yeah, that group of Seleucid pikemen we saw that we thought might rout have just routed there. So that's a lot of Seleucid troops have just been routed in that one particular part of the battlefield there. I see Uther's battle damaged infantry are starting to rout there. He's only got a few units left in his general unit as well. But over here on this flank here, there's more Seleucid troops under pressure by that Scipio. Remember the hammer and anvil attack there. The infantry being the anvil and the cavalry being the hammer there. Nice hammer and anvil attack by the Scipio player. So I can see a lot of these pike units there. As you notice, he pulled his cavalry back, pulled the hammer back, charged in, and bang as that cavalry hits. Pulled the trigger and bang as it hits there, and that Macedon unit there is probably going to rout. That Macedon unit held well there, bearing in mind it was smashed in at the rear and it's being attacked by Scipio troops on either side. But over here you can see that I think all of Uther's infantry has now been routed. There's one of Manor's Scipio infantry still fighting there. Let's just pause the game to take stock of exactly what's happening. As you can see, there's some Macedon and Seleucid units left, very battle damaged, but they're forming up into a bit of a defensive formation there, I think. And then we've got there's enemy Scipii troops there doing a great job there at taking out the pikes. If you notice here that the Scipio general has sent his cavalry out to take out those Seleucid archers that have probably been shooting fire arrows into his troops. So that's a nice little move once again by the Scipio general. Okay, so I think we're about to go into phase 2 of this battle now, whereas you've got the Seleucid, Macedon and JGP's SPQ army forming up there, and the battle damaged units of the other team, the Scipii infantry there as well. So as I say, we're starting to move, I think, into phase 2 of the battle. If you notice that Uther's taken his general unit over to his allies' infantry there to give them more morale. But just to say that in this particular here, the Macedon, Seleucids and SPQ army only Legion 22 generals alive. Yes, he'll give morale bonus to his allies' troops as well as his own, but maybe if it's going to come right down to the wire, the one with the generals left might well possibly make the difference here. As you see, you can see them forming up. I'm just going to have a look at the dead on this particular part of the battlefield. You can see how intense the fighting has been in this particular part of the battlefield by the amount of dead. Bearing in mind this is only a 3v3, to see the intensity of the dead there just goes to show how intense the battle is. So as you can see here, the Seleucid and Macedon and SPQR units are forming up into a defensive formation there. And as you can see, the Scipio general looks like he's forming out, maybe ready to attack. Okay, as we reach the start of phase 2 of the battle here, you can see that the Scipio general is moving his infantry forward. As you can see, all his units are battle damaged here, and he's coming up against a defensive pike formation. So I think on the face of it, this particular part of the battlefield is going to be very difficult for the Scipio general, and it's amazing that he's still got pilots left at this stage of the battle. Very unusual to have pilots left at the latter stages of a battle. Usually you've thrown all the pilots by this stage, but he's lucky he's still got some pilots left, but he's caused some damage to the enemy troops there. But as I say, those the Macedon and Seleucid troops have all been battle damaged as well, but just looking at the numbers here alone, it looks it looks a pretty daunting task for the Scipio general, who I must say has played extremely well all the way through the battle here, but I think looking at this could be very, very difficult to overcome here. It wouldn't surprise me if this Scipio unit routed here with the numbers and the battle damage that it's had. There you go. That unit's just routed there. So, like I say, if you were a betting man here, where do you think your money would go in this particular time of the battle? I think we would probably go for the pikes here, wouldn't we? I think those pike formations would be difficult to break even with more infantry, but with the battle damage infantry that he's got left, I'm thinking that it's going to be extremely difficult. Right, nice cavalry hit there. You see he was going to come in on the flanks of those pikes, but the pikes turned and he very wisely pulled his cavalry back, didn't charge them on in because he knows he would have lost that cavalry to those pikes because they turned just in the right time there. So that was a nice cavalry withdrawal there, tactical withdrawal from that attack. I see that Legion's run his Macedon pikeman forward as well at this time. If you notice the two battle damage Seleucid units there, cavalry units, were going to hit the general unit there, but that one Seleucid unit has now been routed. And now they've routed the other Seleucid cavalry unit. Okay, he's just rallied that. I think that unit that routed a bit earlier has now been rallied, and he's bringing that back in. Probably going to go into the rear of those engaged Seleucid infantry, maybe. I notice that Uther with his cavalry general, he's got one man left in that unit. Probably he's just his general. And I notice he's smashing into the rear of the enemy troops as he can, doing the best he can with that. Right, can you see those Seleucid pikemen there? They're going to get smashed into the flank with cavalry, I would think, as well as they're being engaged with infantry there. Of course, whenever you use cavalry against pikes, you have to be extremely careful. Right, so pause the game for a second, take stock of exactly what's happening. As you can see, he's got two cavalry units there. He's got two of those Seleucid units pretty well surrounded by his infantry. If he charges those cavalry units in, he may well take out those Seleucid units. So as I say, this battle's going right down to the wire. Which way do you think it's going to go here? Remember that the blue and red have both got their generals, given morale bonus, and only the Macedon general is just one general on the other team there. I'm just looking at this and I'm just thinking if those Scipio cavalry charge it into those engaged Seleucid units, they could rout, and that cavalry charging in, and bang! Both those units, those cavalry units, are exhausted though. If you notice how slow they were running there, when units get exhausted they move a lot slower. So the impact, obviously, of the cavalry is going to be less because they're running slower there. Okay, Uther's general, after a great use of that general, has just been taken out. And as I say, this battle's going right down to the wire here, but you can see now that, and there you go, the Scipio general has just been routed there. So, Crypto's Legion 22 and JGP's army have just gone on to win it. Okay, first thing I'd like to say is really well played to everybody in the game there. A really intense, exciting battle there. And as you can see, it was only a close victory. So I always like the close, interesting, exciting battles there. Just like to draw your attention to that Scipio General Manor, who's got 2,098 kills. Yes, he was fighting two of the big 120-man factions there, but to get over 2,000 kills, I still think is pretty special. Inquisitor's custom army, maybe he didn't get the kills that he was hoping for there, but still didn't do too badly for that army, 802. And Uther did well with his army as well there, with that small army that he's got, only 1,237. So well done to Uther as well. If you notice, that JGP did quite well there with his kills, and so did Legion 22. Really well done, guys. That was well done. And as I say, let's have a look at Crypto's battle statistics here. See that one cataphract unit killed 145 of the enemy there. So his cavalry did okay there. Maybe not as brilliant as he wants. The scythed unit only killed 2. The pike units didn't do very good, but look at the archers. Then those are cheap short range archers, and one unit got 122 kills. If you look at the kills of those archers there, he's got well over, you may even have getting on for 300 kills there for those cheap archers. So it goes to show that even cheap archers can do really well for your team with the casualties that they can cause there. So once again, I'd just like to say really well done to Brotherhood member Crypto, JGP and Legion 22. Well done guys, and really well done to Manor, Inquisitor and BH Uther.